from the parent to the child. They need to understand that their lives, and there's a greater role to invest in young people, because when God created a person, naturally we are given birth, biologically we grow up and we die. Physically, when you have grown up, you cannot function in so many things. Your body doesn't allow you to do so many things. That's why there's a reason and there's a very important agenda to ensure that we empower and also educate our young people, because they'll be taking over those roles of responsibility. So it must be understood by the African man that it's not a taboo, it's not a crime for you to allow your child to lead.
Yeah, welcome back to the last segment of Just Africa. Once again, you can follow us on all our social media platforms at Civic TV and subscribe to the Just Africa show on our YouTube channel. Now, millions of young people are speaking up, organizing, innovating, and refusing to be spectators in their own future. From community projects to social movements, from local councils to digital platforms, African youth are stepping into civic life, not waiting for permission, because when young people are engaged, communities grow stronger. When their voices are ignored, frustration grows louder, and when civic engagement is intentional, inclusive, and well-supported, it doesn't just build leaders, it builds nations. This is the second segment. So this episode of Just Africa features Bruce Moyo, a Mandela Washington Fellow and Counselor for Ward 22, Ukulumane in Bulawayo, Zimbabwe. As a local government leader, youth mentor, and director of the Young Leaders Initiative Zimbabwe, Bruce brings first-hand experience in translating civic vision into tangible impact at the community level. We explore how African youth can harness leadership, advocacy, and storytelling to improve governance, foster civic responsibility, and build cohesive, resilient communities. Hello, Bruce. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. Am I audible enough?
Yeah, very, very clear. First of all, I want to apologize for murdering your local government, your ward. Please, can you pronounce the word 22? What is the name again?
Okay, it's word 22, Nkulumane, Bulawayo.
Okay, Ubuwalayo. Okay.
Yes, Bulawayo.
All right, so you are a youth leader. First of all, what is the drive? What drove you into politics? Or what pushed you into politics?
Thank you very much for that question. When I was growing up, I was raised by a single widowed pensioner, a retired mother. So when I grew up, I was having problems and challenges in terms of finishing my academic life, my educational life, because my mother couldn't afford to pay my school fees. But most fundamentally, when I was moving around the streets of Nkulumane, where I'm living currently, I could see young people roaming around the streets, abusing drugs, in the bridges, without hope, without employment, without even an opportunity and a chance to go to school, because they couldn't afford to go to school. The economy is not conducive enough for them to go. So those struggles and those lived realities that I grew up in facing, it motivated me to question power, because I believed that there's something wrong in our country. We used to be the breadbasket of Africa. We used to dominate in terms of the economy. But right now, we are carrying water in buckets, which means something was wrong. And in my view, I thought it was a political crisis, a political problem that we had, and it needed us as young people to step up, rise, and ensure that we address those anomalies. So that's why we joined politics.
Wow, that's beautiful. Now, many young Africans say civic engagement feels symbolic and not impactful. So, what's going wrong? What is the problem actually? Is the problem the system or how leaders perceive young people?
There's a cultural and a systematic problem, which then affect an individual at that level, because we grow up in a system that, if you are young, you cannot speak against your parents. That's our cultural values that we knew. We grew up in a system whereby when you're in a house, you listen to your parents, you don't have an input to the discussions in the film. That's a system that we grew up to. But so if we go in terms of governance issues, civic issues, there's been a precedence, a wrong culture which has been set by our leaders, especially in Africa, a culture of staying long in power, a culture of ensuring that you can't have an opposing voice, you can't be an alternative to their idea, you can't speak your mind. So that culture already it suppressed young people, and a culture that if you're young you cannot lead. So it suppressed and demotivated young people to be active
Yeah.
in terms of civic engagement, because they felt like, no, this is not our platform, this is not our playing ground. It's a playing ground for the elders, so we cannot be part of something that doesn't benefit us. So we can't be in it if it is not for us, if it's not about us. So the young people they now yet that apathy to say we can't participate because of such anomalies. So it's something that is systematic from the cultural values, but most fundamentally from the leadership demonstration, which has been happening from time immemorial, and it has now embedded in the systems and thinking patterns of young people in Africa to say that if you're young you can't be in politics, if you're young you can't be a civic leader. It's for all people, and that's a wrong narrative which has to be redefined. But that has been the greatest problem, false consciousness that we have as young people, to say that the problems that we are having, probably someone will solve them. We are waiting for the Messiah to come and liberate us from the challenges that we are having. But I think that's the wrong narrative and the direction which most of young people are taking. But we don't blame them, because the elders have the role to orient, the elders have the role to educate and to accommodate us as young people so that we know the way to go. So because this continent will be led by young people, this continent's future is in us, the world itself. Africa is the youngest continent in the world. So we mean to say the future of this world in terms of leadership is in our hands. Hence, it is very important for us to be elevated, to be educated, to be oriented, and to be given a platform and a space to practice and to participate in civic engagement.
All right. If the future is in our hands, Bruce, just as you rightly said now, how do we now correct this cultural thing? Because we have to go back to the roots. If we must take over the future, we must go back to the roots where talking in the midst of elders is considered as a taboo in Africa, is considered as disrespect. How do we correct that foundation first before becoming the future leader we're talking about?
Yeah, it's a collective. It takes two to tango. It's a collective. It needs every hands on the deck. You started the role of the civic society organization. They have a greatest role to conscientize and to educate the masses from the parent to a child. They need to understand that there are lines and there's a greater role to invest in young people, because when God created a person, naturally we are given birth. Biologically we grow up and we die. Physically, when you have grown up, you cannot function in so many things. Your body doesn't allow you to do so many things. That's why there's a reason and there's a very important agenda to ensure that we empower and also educate our young people, because they'll be taking over those roles of responsibility. So it must be understood by the African man that is not a taboo. It's not a crime for you to allow your child to lead. Actually, you're investing and you're safeguarding the future, or not of your family, or part of your community and of Africa. So it takes civic society organizations, even the media houses, such platforms are very critical in terms of redefining the narrative. Let's engage young people. Let's hear how they feel about them not being accommodated in decision making. Let's hear how all people feel about young people in the decision making, and let's create a collective, a common denominator, a base, a transformational agenda which is intergenerational in nature, where the old and young come together and discuss issues of fundamental importance when it comes to this continent. In my view, I think that's the platform that is lacking, an intergenerational platform where the old and the young coexist and ensure that they speak one language with different roles. Because as some people come with innovation, we come with energy, we come with a bit of availability. All people have so many responsibilities. Energy is no longer there. So we need to interject and ensure that we create that common ground and ensure that we usher in intergenerational movement where everyone is involved, and every young person has a place and a voice and is respected and is also supported in all the initiatives that they'll be having.
Okay, thank you very much, Bruce. Now, you got into power at a youthful age. We are still considered a youth because you're not as old as the other leaders. So, for you, how was getting into politics in Zimbabwe? Was it really easy, or you just told yourself that no, irrespective of what anyone is saying, irrespective of what the society says, irrespective of what the culture says, I will break in, I will lend my voice, and I will be so involved in civic activities? How did you get in there?
Thank you very much for that question. You know what shaped my resolve was the conviction and of the lived realities, the struggles that we were facing every day. Not only me, but rising up in a community where there's no industry to employ young people, where there's no hope, where you go to school, you graduate, but you are found selling, 8 times, where entrepreneurship is the order of the day or crime. This is the environment where we grew up into. So for me, it was a point of death because I could say that if we manage to fight and to speak for in behalf of ourselves, and if we cannot speak, if we keep on being silent on issues that matters the most, no one will speak on our behalf. So it was a conviction driven by hardships and struggles that we were facing. It wasn't easy. It's never easy to be a young politician in Zimbabwe. As I told you, there are cultural things. Even in your political party, you'll be fighting those that believe that young people cannot lead, that you are too young to be accommodated in the space, you are too young to be a councillor, you are too young to be a member of parliament. Within the party and those even in the ruling elite, so we are fighting a battles. Number one, a battle that is happening within your pocket, that you are still poor, you cannot manage even to raise money for campaign. A battle in your political party that those who don't believe in the young people that can, and a battle of the opposing a party or the opposing institution, which is there to also ensure that they grab power by force. So it wasn't easy for me. It came with the struggles and it came with the hardships. But what kept me moving was the support of my people, my generation, young brothers and sisters in my community who believed in me, who believed in my leadership. So every time when I could wake up, I could remember their tears every day. I could remember those playing in dusted streets, looking for life, looking for exit to poverty. This is what pushed me, and it was very hard. It was up to now, even now in our leadership spaces. Yes, we are councillors, but it's never hard because you keep on fighting those same people who don't believe that you can lead. You keep on fighting to prove that young people, if they're trusted and equipped with necessary tools, they can actually be found in leadership spaces that can shake and change the world. That's why we nominated to attend the Mandela Washington on behalf of other young Africans. It's a clear sign of commitment. It's a clear sign of ensuring that we are very clear on the direction that has to be taken as Africa, not only as my country, Zimbabwe. So it's never easy for young person, but the act of solidarity, the support, the conviction, the clear ideological standing and capacitation, it makes us keep moving, researching every day, learning every day, seeking for advice even to the elders every day. It keeps us moving, motivated, and energized to keep on pursuing, approaching that future, which was mentioned by our forefathers, the Kwame Nkrumahs, the Joshua Mkago Nyongolongos, the Nelson Mandelas, who saw a hope in the young people. And this is the vision, the direction which we will take.
Okay, thank you very much, Bruce. So you talked about your will and how you've been pushing. Now, there are some other youth out there who want to get into power, but they can't because, just as you rightly said, some persons, some political members tell them that you can't go there because you do not have what it takes to be a leader. So for that youth who feels or whom has been talked down on, you're not good enough, you can't lead, or power can't be given to you, you have to come and take it. What do you have to tell that person?
It's true. Power cannot be given, it's taken. Number one. Number two, each and every generation has a mission to respond to. We as young people cannot choose to betray our mission. Our elders played their role. They liberated our countries. They liberated Africa. They built Africa. It's now our generation to make a solid decision, to not betray our future, but to respond to it without any doubt, fear, or favor. This is what we need to tell each other as young people. Number three, get prepared. Ensure and make sure that you develop yourself, go to school, be educated, get enough resources as you can, create friendships in networks, because your network will be your network in the near future. When you want to possess the positions of influence. But most fundamentally, what is very important, you need to be a clear young cadre, rooted in the values and objectives of the ideology which you are pursuing. You need to be very astute in terms of understanding, live the realities of the people you are coming from, and be able to articulate and ensure that you are a mobilizer who organizes people to respond to their problems. We have a tendency of importing external solutions to local solutions. And in my view, in my greatest belief is that if you want to become a leader, be able to understand the local problems that people are facing, be able to speak their own language, be able to resonate with what is happening on the ground, and avail yourself as an available leader and a capable leader to be an initiator to ensure that we create a platform for people to solve their problems.
But
Because it's very
Bruce,
true.
hello Bruce. This is Africa. Sometimes when I'm in Nigeria here, you're in Zimbabwe, and we're all in Africa. Sometimes when you want to you pick a particular problem and you're trying to profess solution to that problem, there are some superpowers that will tell you no, you can't do that. That is for the government, even when you want to do it as an individual. So how can someone who really wants to do something for his or her community and is being restricted or being deprived by superpowers, how would the person be able to do such good works for his or her community?
Look, I'm an opposition youth leader. I joined the opposition knowing that the road is never easy. It's not a walk in the park. There are going to be bruises, arrests, abductions. But this is a decision that I took. We have questioned power. We've spoken truth to power. We've been arrested. We've been abducted. But here we are still alive. We have even been recalled to the offices after elections. But people voted us back because of the belief of seeing that we have capacity to lead them to the promised land. So it takes conviction. It takes self-belief. In this struggle, it's never a walk in the park. You see, we have brothers and sisters whom we learn from. Mandela spent 27 years in prison in search for freedom. You know, we have Joshua Mkago Nyongolonkomos. We have people like Nelson Chamisa here in Zimbabwe who are also pursuing that route to ensure that they give a freedom to our people. It's never easy because there's authority to arrest you. If they not arrest you, they abduct you, then don't abduct, they assassinate. It's part of the struggle. But it's better to die for something right, and God will remember you, than to die quiet on things that are affecting you every day. So I made a conviction and a resolution as a young person to ensure that I become a vessel that is available not only for my community but for my country, to be used to ensure that we deliver a collective vision, a collective result for my country. I know it's not easy, but the sense of solidarity and the conscience that I'm doing what is right, and the conviction of keeping moving, consistently seeking, speaking truth to power, that has been my energy and that has been my fuel. And every young person who wants to speak truth to power, don't just speak, and there are people who are there to support. Because our problems in Zimbabwe are not new. The same problems that young people are facing in Zimbabwe, the same problem that young people are facing in Lagos, in Nigeria. So we need to just speak the same language, find African solutions to our African problems. This is the direction that we have to take. But it needs a generation able and ready to ensure that it responds to each generational mission. And each and every generation must have a leader. And we are availing ourselves as the leaders of this generation to ensure that we deliver change that people want. So it's never easy, but we need to speak. We need to start, and we need to be a collective. We need to have a support system, which is the people who resonate with the issues that we are talking about. So this is our resolve, and we know that before our forefathers liberated this country, they made a similar decision that we are making now, because Africa belongs to us. We are not neighbors of Africa. We are Africans by birth. We are Africans by blood. We are Africans by soul. So we need to ensure that we have a cake in this African cake. We need to have a share. So this is what we are fighting for, and we are going to achieve it.
All right. Thank you, Bruce. For how long have you been in the office?
So I was elected on the 23rd of August, 2023.
Okay, 2023.
Then I was recalled.
Okay. Yeah. So between 2023, between 2023 and now, do you think that you have delivered on the mandate of which you were elected? Your manifesto before and during the elections, do you think you have done well for the people to re-elect you maybe for another time, for another tenure?
Oh yes, yeah. So I was explaining that when I was elected 23 August 2023, I was recalled by those who believe that we are too young to lead. So I was removed from the seat that I was elected from. So I went to a election on December the same year, people voted me back because of the belief already and the works that we have been doing. And it's unfortunate that you cannot have a conversation with these people. But I can assure you that what we have done for our people was to ensure that we stick to our promises. We are not the liberators of the oppressed. We are not the messiahs of those who are suffering, but we suffer with the suffering. We are part of the oppressed. So what is important, what I've done is to ensure that I create a platform where every person, every community leader, every resident feels accommodated. Every voice matters. Every solution is channeled and championed by the local people. And the projects that have been happening are programs and projects which are run by the local people for their own sustenance, for their own livelihood, and for their own future. And we have managed to deliver almost three quarters of what we promised our people. But most fundamental, what we promised them is to stay with them, to remain true to the struggle, and to remain available every time when they are looking for us. And this is the leadership that we have tried to demonstrate, so that even the next generation will inherit from the precedents that we have said that young people can lead.
Okay, thank you very much. And I hope the good work continues in your ward and your local government and Zimbabwe generally. Okay, so another thing I want to talk about is the effect of social media. So social media has given youth a very loud voice. Now, that loud voice, has it translated into real community change? Are we mistaking online noise for offline impact? Do you think that what we're seeing on social media right now, do you think it has translated into real change?
Yeah, I'll start with the positives. I think social media it has played a very critical role. Look, right now I'm in Zimbabwe, Bulawayo, and Kulman, and you are in Nigeria, Lagos, but you are able to have a conversation. That's the beauty of social media. It has managed to organize people. It has managed to mobilize people. If you are planning a campaign, if you are planning protests, if you are planning anything, we mobilize and organize people through social media. So it plays a very critical role in terms of engaging, especially young people. Young people of nowadays, they have so much energy in social media. So we know if we want to educate them, if we want to empower them, if we want to conscientize them, we use the same platform, social media, WhatsApp groups, Twitter, X, Spaces, Zoom, etc., so that we connect with every young person in rural areas, in the urban areas, so that we champion that agenda. So that has been a positive in ensuring that our struggle continues. But the dangers of social media, number one, is misinformation and disinformation. Number two is that cultural dilution that we've been talking about, because it is through social media that young people are now inheriting cultures which don't belong to Africa, which are not African in nature. Number three, it has created a dangerous apathy, because the regimes that we are fighting against, they've started the concept of using social media to intimidate people, to breed fear in people, and to demotivate people. So young people, when they see things happening in social media, probably people were protesting and they got arrested. No, so they are demotivated in nature to say, we cannot speak for ourselves, we cannot speak through the power, because we saw people being arrested. So around those issues, that has been the negative of it. But most fundamentally, social media, it has also come with a scenario whereby it is substituting what must happen on the ground, because these things must complement. Social media must not substitute what happens on the ground. So this is what we have been seeing. But most of our young people are spending much time TikToking, Instagramming, WhatsApp calling, forgetting that there's a work in the ground that has to happen to safeguard our future. And it has created so much laziness. Young people don't have appetite to create their own businesses. They don't have the appetite to work for themselves, to research, to read, and to look for jobs. They're spending time on TikTok. As well as I'm following Nicki Minaj. So these are the dangers of social media which we have been facing.
All right, thank you very much, Bruce. There are so many questions I want to ask around social media. Because sometimes when we say the youth are lazy, some of the leaders, people who are not in power, they also use that social media as a medium to communicate with the people that voted them into power. But most times when they come into power, they tend to ban some of the social media platforms. Are you also pushing that narrative? Do you at any point in time think that social media should be banned or maybe regulated to some point so that the youth don't take too much advantage of it? What's your take?
No, it mustn't be banned. No, when I'm wearing the positives and the negatives, the social media is playing the positive side. It mustn't be bad. It's playing a very critical role, not only in communication. It addresses so many issues. You see, in social media, you can get entertainment, you can get edutainment, you can be educated through social media. In social media, you can generate income. There are young people who are socialites, young people who are content creators. You can so it's an industry for young people to make money. It's an industry for young people to engage. In social media, you can bridge and build relationships which can sustain and promote whatever agenda that you are pushing for. In social media, you can connect with someone who's not here, collectively discussing issues that can impact thousands of listeners that we have. So it's something that cannot be banned. It's something that cannot be questioned. It's something that we just need to safeguard in the use of it, to safeguard against disinformation, misinformation, and propaganda and the abuse of it, because especially on a girl child, you see what's happening in social media, especially on those young women who are in civic leadership and politics. They're abused through social media. You see the sexual harassment chants. There's abuse, the serious abuse of young women in social media. So those must be safeguarding nets to ensure that it doesn't promote division, it doesn't abuse the rights and the liberties of any individual, but it channels the agenda. And we are a dot-com generation. The Internet of Things, the technology. This is the direction which the world is taking. So we cannot avoid social media. Donald Trump, as the president of United States of America, what contributed to his victory? 60% was the use of social media. So it cannot be questioned. It's very important. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the fact that yes, you are not one of those pushing for the banishment or the maybe a very high regulation of social media, because you need it. So I want okay, your local government. How is your local government, or what role are they playing in supporting youth civic engagement? What role, what part are you playing in engaging them so they don't become lazy?
Yeah, so the city of Bulawayo has been trying to ensure that young person take an active role in governance issues and civic issues in Bulawayo, to be precisely, as the second largest city in Zimbabwe. We have ensured that each and every area, each and every ward has a youth center, a youth recreational center, and a youth vocational center, which is a space for young people to engage, to be trained, and also to have conversation on what matters the most in our country, in our city. So young people have also been supported through funding. We are in a climate change era, so we know that young people are very innovative. Young people are the ones with energy to research. So we have grants that we've been giving young people, organizations and associations led by young people, so that they can champion solutions on keeping climate change in our community. It has been an ongoing program, and young people have been engaging. But most fundamentally, we've been also training them with skills so that they can start their own businesses, looking for donors who can support them with capital so that they can start their businesses and make a living, because there's no employment in Zimbabwe. There are no industries. And I know that what I'm saying, it is the same struggle in South Africa, it's the same struggle in Nigeria, it's the same struggle in Africa. It is a cross-cutting struggle across board. And the young people have been vulnerable to that extent. But the solutions that we are bringing is to ensure that they are able to use the beauty of their language, the capacity of their brains, and the ability of their hands to create employment for themselves and for others, start their own businesses. So we've been having such programs, but most fundamentally in terms of them being part of the civic conversation and discourse in politics, we've been having leadership training programs for young people who wants to be in politics. There are organizations which we are partnering with as a city to ensure that young people are trained, young people are equipped with skills, young people are elevated to the positions of leadership. So it has been an ongoing process. But I can safely say that in terms of the delivery as the city of Bulawayo, we are on 80% in addressing the struggles of young people. But it's a process. It's not a one-day wonder.
Oh, thank you very much, Bruce. Yes, my producer is calling me that, yes, we have to round up. But before I let you go, looking ahead, what does a truly youth-driven African community, in your own way, how does it look like?
Africa must be led by young people. We need to create a solidarity network across board. As I said, our challenges, our problems are the same. We need to create a solidarity network across board. This world to be led by young people, specifically from Africa, because Africa is the youngest continent in terms of the statistics. The future of America is in our hands. The future of Russia is in Africa's hands because we are going to lead this world. So it's very important that the current presidents in Africa take seriously the issue to empower and accommodate young people in these civic and political spaces because they are children, the children of our president currently. Their future is in our hands. So they need to understand and to know that the future of their grandchildren is in the hands of young people today. It's very important for us to be empowered. Let's have a say in the national cake. Let's have a say in the African cake. And I know that we are raising a conscious youth across board. If you go in South Africa, young people are rising. In Nigeria, young people are rising. In Kenya, young people are rising. And we know that we are going towards the right direction. And it is of no time that we are going to respond to the words of the former liberation fighter in Zimbabwe, Joshua Mkago, who said, this country will not die, but young people will save it. We will shape the new discourse of politics in Africa. Politics not of big men, but politics of big ideas. Politics of addressing real challenges which are faced by our people. Politics of pure democracy. Politics of unity, politics of peace, not politics of violence, where elections divide people, where elections is a platform of massacre, where elections are an act of ritual, where elections we find more people die. We need to build a new Africa which is founded on the basis of love, on the basis of peace, on the basis of progress, and on the basis of competence. This is something that we cannot substitute. So this is the Africa that we are proposing to our leaders currently. This is Africa that we are proposing to the young people at large. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much, Bruce, for coming on the show today. We really appreciate your input, your insight, and everything you have said. Thank you very much.
Thank you. How do you say thank you in your language?
As an honorable girl from Delta State, I say Wenu Biru.
Okay.
Okay, but this is Just Africa, and this is my show right now. You are my guest. So, being Just Africa, I don't know what you speak. What's the dialect in Zimbabwe? What do you speak?
There's Ndebele and there's Shona.
Okay, so which one do you speak? Shona?
Both. I speak both. But my language is Ndebele, yeah.
So I picked Shona. So you're going to use Shona to tell your fans, your followers, or your community, your world people, you're going to speak your dialect and tell them to keep watching Souk News Television and they should subscribe to the Just Africa show. Over to you.
Thank you so much. This is what I would do. Ndichaita zvo vanhu vemuzimbabwe vanhu vemukurumane kulayo harare, please follow my page irori, musubscribe, mufollow, muise my likes, nemafire emoji tinotenda.
You actually infused little English there, but it's okay. It's okay. It's allowed. Once again, thank you, Bruce, for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Stay blessed.
All right.